Hey guys, welcome to Goku of Light One Piece Theory. So I essentially did this theory a while ago when I first started my channel, and notably this is where a lot of people subscribed to me and came to my channel. When I first started this, I did one on Law about him becoming a Yonko, and it's essentially one of my best theories. Even if it's, you know, long term doesn't turn out to come to fruition, it was a pretty interesting one and one that I felt like I put some good time into. And essentially, it sucked, but it was the first video on my channel to hit over 1,000 views, and I had to remove it because of copyright issues. And so I'm basically just here to redo the theory myself without all the effects and stuff like that, so that I can just avoid the copyright issues and put this theory into play before the manga continues any further. So that being said, um, I essentially introduced this theory, basically going back into the point of Law's history. We know everything with Doflamingo, and essentially what we learned, going through the story. If you're current on everything and you know things about Law, you know that he has a cursed sword. So I believe that his cursed sword represents pain. Ultimately, a lot of characters in One Piece can take a lot of hits. They can take a lot of damage. But as you look at the cursed blades, you see that they have particular side effects or direct, I would say, notable key differences. Like Candavish, I believe his name is, the white-looking knight. He falls asleep and then becomes this berserk swordsman. You know, that's his thing. Zoro, he gets to a level of pain where it looks like he's about to lose these fights, he's about to pass out, and he's had Urusura step up and basically help him. He's had the demon come out of him and essentially help him take that next step in winning these fights. So we could see both of them in a sense when they're both pushed to their limits of death. The cursed sword steps in to help them, whether it's the Candavish passing out through falling asleep or even being knocked out. I believe that his cursed sword can activate and help him win a fight. Well, now I believe something similar can happen with pain being reflected on Law. So that being said, I believe if he goes through a certain amount of pain or so close to death, we can see this cursed sword. Now you might be asking, why don't we see this with Doflamingo? And my response to that is because everything with Luffy, and essentially I believe that his cursed sword is going to come into play when his awakening does. Now you may be asking, why doesn't it come into play now? And to me, I'm looking at the fact that if his cursed sword is pain, and the devil fruit that is specifically, the fruit that he utilizes is to keep people immortal or basically to control an area. In my sense, that could mean two things. That his fruit, when the awakening, could eliminate pain, all pain in that delivered area. Now, what I believe is a combination of his devil fruit and his abilities is that if he eliminated all the pain in that area, on top of the fact that he has this cursed sword, if he's just absorbing all this pain, maybe he's able to return it in a certain way, either through an attack or through a transformation of himself, similar to what Zoro does. And this is just one part of it. This is just reflecting on his cursed sword. This isn't the actual theory itself. Now, going into the actual theory itself, I believe that Law, essentially learn as he becomes strong and he comes back into the current fray of things. He disappeared obviously through fear of Doflamingo and everything else. Went to North Blue. I believe during his time in North Blue, this is when he meets Beepo, Penguin, Sachi, some of the other people in the Heart Pirates. And I believe during this time, this is when he finds his purpose or his quest. Because at first when losing Rosinante, basically like his father figure, or big brother, he looked very despaired, very discouraged. Didn't really look like he could go much further. All we knew is that he was very vengeful dude. And during this point, and essentially, talking from some of my friends like Princeton and other people that are really knowledgeable in the One Piece world, they told me that many people name themselves during the Pirate Age name themselves after animals. So I kind of quoted or noted anybody with an animal name could essentially be important to the story in a certain way. Not to say that every person will be, but it's something to just take a mark of. And so the guy, his name's Penguin. I think he's going to be pretty important to Law's backstory and finding out some more information. Another thing to notice is Beepo. Beepo, who seems to be his first mate, is basically a polar bear. So if you notice this, there's an ice theme going there. You have Beepo and Penguin, and who do we know whose favorite island is a snow island? Kaido. So there's an ice connection right there. Now, I believe he meets Beepo and possibly Penguin in both in North Blue, or maybe one in one place, one in the other. Now, I believe Beepo is connected to the Mink Men because we've seen a few people. I can't remember his names off the top of my head. I'm going to say his name's Pexum, something like that. Basically, the lion-looking dude with the turtle shell, works for Big Mom or Big Mam. Essentially, I think he has a devil fruit. But essentially these talking animals, I believe they belong to another race. They're either connected to mink men or they're another race, essentially all together. Or they could be a failed experiment having to do with the government going way farther back because 800 years have passed and they've done multiple experiments. So it's safe to believe that at some point, maybe 400 or 500 years back, we have different failed experiments that lead to the creation of some of these races. As far as like the guys that have double arms and stuff like that, as you see, one of them is in CP0. So it's safe to believe that the government is connected to them in some way. They're not just out in the wilderness on their own. They are. There's a lot of connections to the government. They're one of the kingdoms that probably has something to do with the government, as it was seen that they were bullying around the other people who needed Brooks' help. Not to say that they're like advanced or anything like that, but I think that there's more to that. Obviously, that guy that comes from the double-armed tribe wouldn't just abandon his people, so there's some more to that. Now, getting back into the actual theory, I believe that Law, essentially upon assembling his crew, doing his research, finding out everything with Doflamingo, he finds out, Doflamingo's a player in the underground game, and then he finds out who's actually punking Doflamingo. He finds out the one person bigger than him. And knowing that Doflamingo's whole thing is a superiority or a complex of being a king, I believe that Law, wanting to really, hit Doflamingo to the heart or to the core, will essentially focus more on taking Kaido down than killing Doflamingo. At the very end of this arc we have coming up, I don't think Doflamingo will die. He might die, but if he dies, it's going to be of his own accord. I don't think it's going to be from Luffy or Law giving him the final blow. I believe it might just be that he's just so worn out or so past his physical limits, he might just die, through exhaustion. That's possible. But essentially, I don't think that he's going to get any kind of death blow or anything like that. I think we've seen all the fighting as far as this goes, and I could see Law trying to take a one-up on Doflamingo to challenge Kaido at this point, maybe trying to get some information out of him or anything like that. But essentially, by knowing that if he defeats Kaido and he becomes the Emperor of Sea, he can do something that even Doflamingo couldn't. That's a way to really honor Rocinante's memory in the best way. Essentially through he could have went the original route of going through vengeance and just taking Doflamingo's head, but becoming a heart pirate and the captain and having these other people look up to him, I believe that kind of diverges his basically vengeful path. I think it takes away a little bit of the bitterness, it gives him a reason for more. Essentially, when we see everything with the amber lead and when he's a kid and he always keeps saying he wants to kill everybody. He wants to kill everybody. And so that it does leave the potential for another theory that I'm working on that in the end sight he could be a neutral character or even a villain. He doesn't have to be an ally of Luffy. He can be and most likely will be, but there's a lot of open-ended possibilities. So I essentially believe Law is gonna, through his past, he gains reasons or motivation to want to take Kaido out. So as he comes back into the current scene and orchestrates everything that's happening now, he's going to use this to gain some one-up to fight Kaido. Now, going into the battle, we know that Kaido is the strongest creature of all. So that being said, we need something that's meant to destroy a creature. Now, I believe at this point, we either A, get some kind of hint towards the treasure, the national treasure, because the national treasure can be any multiple things. So might get a hint towards that, or we get more of a hint or concept on the D's and why Daffy hates the D's so much, and why he from the very beginning, Rocinante told Law to not let him find out, because maybe they themselves have some more knowledge, especially Daffy, And yeah, I think that Doflamingo will will give us a good development into the possibilities of who Law could turn out to be. I don't think we have 100% spectrum on who Law is going to be because he has a very fucked up past. He has very twisted goals, but he comes off very chill and very cool with Luffy. So I think ultimately his goal is to become the Yonko. He's going to become the Yonko, and through becoming the Yonko, he'll believe he can influence the sea. Now, I believe the D, as it does signify that they can affect things in history and all these other things, I think it also signifies death. I think that's why they're labeled as the devils, because everything that comes along with the D's also comes with negativity, whether people want to accept that or not. From the lineage of, if we're going off history of the last 1,000 years, the D's have brought nothing but pain and death. Obviously, it's because they're trying to change their future and they're trying to create something better overall. But this is one of those things where you're making sacrifices. People are dying, people get hurt, and there's going to be death along the way. So I think that's a big indication of why the D's are who they are, and why they kind of just do what they do. And that being said, I believe Law will do what he does in the sense of wanting to succeed his goal over being a good guy or trying to make anybody like him. I don't think that's the overall goal here. And I think we'll find out more of his motivations lie behind Bebo and Penguin, as far as why he wants to defeat Kaido over more of Doflamingo. Even though he could have taken out Doflamingo, he figured that if he takes Kaido out, it by domino effects eliminates Doflamingo. So he uses Doflamingo as a stepping stone to take out Kaido to essentially succeed with Bebo and Penguin's goal. So and I think we'll figure out a lot more about that when we get into the Zoe arc and the North Blue arc. And that's essentially my theory. The Law's motivation, the reason why Law wants to become a Yonko, and why Law will become a Yonko. So yeah, this has been a Goku of Light One Piece theory on why Law will be the next Yonko. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and comment below. If you disagree and you don't think he'll be a Yonko, or you think Law is a very weak character and you fucking hate him, then comment below and let me know. And yeah, so overall, Law is a great character. I enjoy him. Another One Piece theory, Goku of Light, signing out, and you guys have a good day.